Hi, I'm Bob Trask, and this is our weekly reset. Every week we come together, either on YouTube or on Sunday mornings at 9 or 11 o'clock. And the reason we come together is because we know that we get caught up in our daily lives. We get caught up in our work or our schedules or whatever. And sometimes it's easy for us to forget that we are sacred beings, sacred and divine, and that we are each here for a purpose. Yeah, and we have some things to untangle and unravel in our lives, some things to unfold and things to become. But also, and I think very importantly, we need to remember that it's not supposed to be impossible. If we can dream it, we can achieve it. If we can think it, we can make it come true. We are miracle workers. We're magic in that sense. Everything that's ever happened. We think of the Wright brothers, and I can kind of imagine them sitting together in their house and talking about what if a person could fly? Well, how would that work? And they wouldn't say, "Oh, come on, person can't fly. Come on, what are you going to do? You're going to build a barn and get it off the ground? Come on, get serious." They didn't go there. They imagined what could be. What could be if I were to just imagine what could be? And because they imagined, then they went to the beach and they took their craft out there and they tried to fly it and it didn't fly and it wouldn't fly. And anyone who was watching it was going, come on, what do these guys think they're doing? But they had a vision and they didn't give up. And what they were trying to do was at the time impossible, impossible. And they flew, and they flew. And now people are not only flying all over the planet, billions of miles a year, but we're flying to the moon, and we're flying to Mars. So, two brothers just saying, what if a man could fly? When I was a kid, there was a comic strip called Dick Tracy, and Dick Tracy had this wristwatch, and he could talk into his wristwatch, and he could hear messages in his wristwatch. And I mean, that was so ridiculous that nobody actually believed that. That was just nonsense. And of course, now we have wristwatches that tell us anything we want to know, and we can send messages or receive messages in our wristwatch. We have, I can take out my little cell phone and I hold it up here and I can talk to a friend of mine in Japan. In Japan, there's no wires attached, no wires, nothing. It's just it's just this little implement. And in this with this little implement, I can talk to Japan, talk to somebody anywhere in the world. That's not possible. But somebody had a dream, and people still have dreams, and they're still moving on, creating vaccines, creating cures for cancer, creating all kinds of amazing things. So your job in this world is not to be the Wright brothers or to be Jonas Salk or Einstein. Your job is to be you. And to be you, to totally be when you're totally being you. Boy, I'm telling you, that's really difficult to do. My wife's got a t-shirt that just says be you on it. And I think we're going to make more t-shirts for that. Just be you. But that's sometimes is the most difficult thing to do because you can do, yeah, you can do, and you can have. Yeah, I mean, you look around you. These are the things you have. You can look around your room. These are the things you have and do. Oh, as soon as this is over, I've got to go do this and then do that and then do something else. But if you be first, then the doingness comes from the being. And then the being, if you can hear me, please, is in the doing. The being goes into the doing so that the doing then is part of the being. Now, if in that being there's joy, and a sense of belonging to something greater, something more majestic, something eternal, something permanent, something really, really wonderful. If you're belonging to that, then when you do, then that beingness is inside of the doingness, and the doingness is magic. That doingness is God. I watched my friend Kayla do paintings. When she put some paint out on, and she to get some of this color and some of that color, she just goes out of her mind, and she just goes into this beingness, and the beingness flows onto the canvas. And when that beingness flows onto the canvas, it's something she couldn't do without first being. So today, we're talking about the universe is your home. That may sound pretty easy right off the bat. Of course, it's your home. Of course, it's your home. You live on planet Earth. Planet Earth is part of the universe. Of course, the universe is your home. I'm talking about more than that, because this month's theme is Eternity is Now in Session. Eternity is now in session. And each week we're going to address a different aspect of this subject. And today's subject, the universe is your home, may surprise you because I'm going to be talking a lot more than the physical universe is your home. Joseph Campbell, the great Joseph Campbell, who I just think so much of, wrote such great books, and was Bill Moyers had him on his TV show, and I was just fascinated to watch him at all times. And he said the goal of life is to make your heartbeat match the beat of the universe, to match your nature with nature. When is he talking about nature? Right now we're talking about the universe. The universe is nature. It's the unfolding of a natural process. I once knew a guy who inherited his grandfather's home. The place was in New Jersey. And so it was the place was just in a small piece of land outside of New Jersey. And so he went there and went to the town and got the address and went to the address. And whew, he was so surprised because he was hoping there'd be really something majestic, but it was this little old house, and it wasn't much. I mean, and it needed some work. He went inside, and the sink was all rusted out, and the toilet wasn't the latest new thing, and the shower was kind of a mess. And he looked around and he said, well, my grandfather lived here and he owned this, and I'll fix it up. He left it to me. I think he wanted me to fix it up. So he began to fix it up. He repaired the floor where the roof had leaked down and warped the wood, and he fixed the windows, and he really got into it. And the more he got into it, the more he did. And when he went outside, found the garden was overgrown and was a mess. And so he tore all the weeds out and recultivated. And he couldn't help but look up beyond him, just up the hill, was a big farm. And the guy up there was just obviously doing really well. There was a big house and a big barn, and there was big tractors and stuff. And he thought, well, I don't want to. I don't want to look down on my grandfather. I kind of wish that he'd done something like that, but he didn't. And that's okay. I'll just make this place work. So he was working on it, and he went along and he did a lot of things. And he was there for, I don't remember, he told me later, but I guess maybe a month and a half he was there. And he had the roofers come in and put a new roof on. And when they were finished, he was getting ready to pay the roofer. And the roofer said to him, he said, I got to tell you, he said, the people in town ask about you. And he said, I, I don't want to seem rude, but they're wondering how come you're living here. And he said, well, I was living in California, and I inherited this from my grandfather. And so I thought I'd come out here and live here. And he said, no, 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 I'm not talking about this place. I'm talking about, why aren't you living up in the big house on the hill? And he said, what do you mean? He said, that's your grandfather's farm. And he was astonished. And I never forgot that story because it's so pertinent to who we are and what we do. And that what we see before us, we try to fix it. We try to make it work. We try to fix it, make it work, make it work. But there's a bigger reality going on here. There's a bigger reality in your life than what you see. So much bigger. Oh my God. You know, we live in an eternity of time and space, and an eternity of time and space. But we're focused only on this illusion. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be focused on this. I'm just saying let's focus also beyond this. Because this life that I'm living right now, in this body with this face and voice and my car and my house and all this stuff, this is temporary. But there's something about me that's permanent. There's something about you that's permanent. When I say permanent, I want to expand us out into the universe, because the universe is permanent. And somebody might say, well, it's only going to last for 100 billion years and then blah, 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 blah. No, 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 no. No, it's permanent. It goes on forever and ever and ever with no end. And then you might ask me, well, are you saying this universe will always be like this? No, I don't think it will, because everything is changing. The universe is changing. You're changing. I'm changing. We've been changing since we were born. Isn't that right? Isn't it true that we've been changing? Not only physically, we've been growing and we've been creating different cells and different body parts. Not only that, but we've been changing mentally and emotionally and spiritually. We've been growing, growing. Every time we've come up against a challenge and it seemed unsurmountable, somehow we surmounted it, because we belong to the universe. The universe is our home, and the universe is intelligent. It's not a bunch of rocks floating around in space. It's an intelligence. It's a presence. The universe is a presence. It's a presence. Remember a minute ago that Joseph Campbell said the goal of life is to make your heartbeat match the beat of the universe, to match your nature with the nature of life, of everything. And is this universe then, this universe which is changing, constantly changing, is this universe the limit of what is? I don't think so. I don't think so. There exists a reliable scientific theory suggesting that our universe, with all its hundreds of billions of galaxies, is just one of many, in fact, unlimited number of universes. Why is that important? Why would you care if there's an unlimited number of universes? You're living in this universe. You might also be living in a lot of other universes simultaneously. It's possible that that's going on. It's possible that you're living your so-called past lives in another universe, and that it's not past at all. It's just coordinating with this life. It's possible that you're living in multiple dimensions all at the same time. But this is the one you're on right now. So this is where your focus is. And what you do right now in this universe, right now in this lifetime, affects all the other lifetimes in all the other dimensions in all of the other universes. Because nothing stands alone. Everything is related to something else or to everything else. There's no such thing as an isolated incident or an isolated event. Everything, everything is connected to everything. Everything. Now I'm going to say something that'll probably get me in trouble with some people, but I'm going to say it anyway. That multiverse, this universe, that's God. And it's the only God there is. Now, remember, you heard it here. I'll stand by that, and no matter what the argument is. And this is a bigger God than any God anyone ever imagined. Oh, my goodness. This is so much bigger than the guy in the sky. This is what is. This is the presence of all. And it's alive, alive and filled with truth and love. This universe isn't sort of random. It just doesn't do things random. Everything is in order. Everything is in order. The planet is rotating around its sun in order. The sun is moving in order through its galaxy. Everything is happening in a way that's true. The rivers don't run uphill. Rivers run downhill, and they run downhill into the sea, and the sea accepts them, and they blend into the sea, into the salt water of the sea. And then that water evaporates back out into the clouds, and it drifts back over the mountains, and it rains or snows, and then that runs back down into the sea. And it's all part of order. It's all part of an order. The seasons are part of an order. It snows in the high country. It snows maybe a foot or 2 feet, and then it stops snowing, and then gets really cold, or maybe a little warm and cold, and then there's a crust that forms on top of that snow, and then it snows again, and then another crust or another snow, and another. I live in Bellingham, Washington. We have a mountain right near us that's just gorgeous. So come and see our mountain, Mount Baker. Gets more snow than anywhere in the continental United States. Right now, it's the 1st of June. The snow is probably 30 to 40 feet deep right now up on Mount Baker, up on the place where you can go, where you can drive to, probably 30 or 40 feet deep. But when that melts, it melts in stages. It melts throughout the whole summer. It melts down to a certain crust, and then it stops. And then it melts down to the next crust, and it stops, so that the rivers are constantly being fed, and the land is constantly being fed, and the plants and the flowers and the wild timber of that forested beauty are all being fed constantly. That's all part of the organization of the universe. The universe is alive. The trees are alive. And if I think oh boy, I'm a really believer in this. You want to worship God? You really want to worship God? You can go to church. It's okay if that's what your thing is, then by all means go to church. And I'm totally on your team there. But I think you can go to a tree, because that's where God is. And God's in church too, because the church is built of God, built of the universe. And the music that's playing, whew, incredible music. And that's God. It's all God. Everything's God. There's nothing that isn't God, because the created and the creator are the same thing. The universe flows in harmony with every force perfectly and continually, forever. Here's this is from the mind of a man named John Lanahan. All things are connected with all things throughout the universe, from the insect to the archangel, from the sand grain to the mountain and the globe, from the dewdrop to the ocean, from the raindrop to the rainbow, from the pebble on the shore to the sun that blazes in the firmament, from the zephyr that sings among the flowers of the field to the ocean that pours its wild bass sound into the great anthem of nature. John Lanahan said, not only are all these things connected with all things, but there's a chain of events, so that the character and effects of no one event can terminate in itself. Please hear that. The character and the effects of every event is permanent and eternal. No event can terminate in itself. The character and effects of it live on, as each event owes some portion of its nature to that which preceded it. Now, why is that important to me? Why is that important to you? Because I'm going to go on reading what he said, but let me interrupt him just for a moment. Why is it important to know that each event owes some portion of its nature to that which precedes it, and it imparts some of its nature to that which succeeds it, and thus perpetuates the blended good or evil of itself and its predecessors? Why is that important? Because it's important for you to know that if you come from your soul, if you come from your spirit, if you come from your sense of being, when you do things, then that beingness of you lives on beyond that event, goes into the next event. Because every event has some of the character and nature of the event that preceded it. Nothing occurs by itself. Everything is the result of something before it. Everything is the result of something before it. And it's all part of this incredibly beautiful chain of events that just go on and on and on. Oh, God, it's so marvelous to be alive in this universe and to know that this is our home, not a physical home. I mean, it's a physical home, but beyond that, it's where we are spiritually. And the universe is a spiritual being. The physical manifestations of it are the physical manifestations of it, but it's alive in those physical manifestations. It is alive. You are the presence of God. You are the presence of the divine nature of the universe. And everything that you do carries with it part of you into that doingness. And that doingness is a result. We have gardens. My wife Mary is just the greatest at planting bulbs and planting seeds and making flowers grow. And every time she does that, she puts her heart into that and her love into that. And as those flowers grow, they have that nature in them. And you know what? They create seeds, and the seeds blow in the wind, and they set up another flower growing somewhere else. In fact, about half of our yard are volunteers that came from somewhere else. And we have to say, what the heck is this? I don't know. Take a picture of it and see if we can go online and find out what it is. And we find out what it is. Say, oh, wow, that's a pretty important plant. So then we nurture it and it grows. We've got phlox growing in our garden. We never knew were there. We've got an incredible flowering burning bush that's growing into a tree that just sort of appeared in our, we've got all this stuff just appears in our gardens. We got strawberries growing all over the place. But someplace, somewhere, there somebody did something that created an event, that created an event, that created an event, that created an event. And you're inside of each event that you do. You're inside of each event that you create. And you're carried forward with that. As each event owes some portion of its nature to that which preceded it, so it imparts some of its nature to that which succeeds it, and thus perpetuates the blended good or evil of itself and its predecessors. So then this universe and everything in it is changing, isn't it? It's evolving. From insect to archangel, from the sand grain to the mountain to the globe, and the dewdrop to the ocean, and the raindrop to the rainbow, and the pebble on the shore to the sun in the firmament, and the zephyr that sings in the flowers of the field to the ocean that pours its wild ba-boom bass thundering surf on the great anthem of nature. And everything is changing itself and how it relates to everything else. And you and I are changing. And we are not only changing, but we are change itself. Because that's the nature of Holy Spirit. That's the nature of the great presence, is that it's change. It is change. And we are change. And how, you know where we get stuck is we have this little ego brain that says, well, I don't know if I should do that because I've always done this. Well, I've done this way, or I've thought this way, and so I should think that. And so we get stuck in that. And then when we get stuck, then we stop growing. And then when we stop growing, we fall out of nature with the universe. And then our heartbeat no longer throbs in nature with the rhythm of the universe. And then we get isolated. And then we have to start fight our way through things. and it gets difficult. Relationships are difficult. Everything's difficult. But if we can just breathe with the universe and just know that we are change. Diane Duane said, believe something and the universe is on its way to being changed because you've changed by believing. Once you've changed, other things start to follow. Isn't that the way it works? Isn't that the way it works? When you believe something and the universe is on its way to being changed, your universe is on its way to being changed because you've changed. Wayne Dyer said that when you change the way you look at things, things that you look at change. And who's in charge of that universal change going on? Who's responsible for a mountain growing out of the sea or a hurricane forming off the coast of Africa? There's only one answer to that, and that's the creator of this universe, which is the universe itself. The creator and the created are the one. The intelligence, the energy, the intelligent energy is a consciousness, and it's alive and is present in all things. And here's the nifty thing to know about that. As each part of nature creates itself, it does so according to its own law. There's nothing random. It does it according to its own law. And the law is truth and love. Truth and love. And as long as we're in truth and love happens in our lives. When we fall out of truth and love, go into fear instead of truth, fear instead of love, which is self-doubt, go into self-doubt, go into fear, start tightening up, then we fall out of love, then we fall out of change, then we fall out of the flow of the universe, then we're on our own. And we look around the world and we see what's happened. We see the wars, every single one of them going on. Then there's 15 major wars going on right now on planet Earth. Every single one of them is a result of people falling out of love, falling out of truth, falling out of change, falling out of the harmony of the universe. Well, somebody says, well, there's not enough food here for these people to eat, so they're going to have to revolt. Well, if there's not enough food there for people to eat, that's because somebody else didn't share their food. Here in America, we bury billions and billions and billions of tons of food every day. And there's other people in the world going hungry. Does that make sense? No, but we're not in love. We're not in harmony. We're not in truth. In truth, every single child on this planet, right now, there's a little baby girl being born in a small town in northern Pakistan. Tiny little beautiful baby. She's your baby. She's your daughter. She's my daughter. We cannot afford to have her abused. We cannot afford to have her go hungry. We cannot afford that. We must give with love. And every time we say to somebody, here's the way you ought to run your life, I'm telling you, because we're America and we're going to tell you that. Every time we do that, we get resistance. But what if we just flooded them with goods? What if we just flooded them with love? What if we just gave? Truth and love. That's not a concept. That's what organizes and harmonizes this universe. And it's your physical body. And it's true and it's true always. You are love and you are truth and you are change. Joseph Campbell said, follow the bliss and the universe will open doors where there were only walls. Follow your bliss. He's saying, follow your heart, follow the truth and love and be changed. Be willing to be changed. Trust the universe that's your home. Trust that there's a greater presence here and that it's holding you and carrying you. Trust. Follow your bliss and the universe will open doors where there were only walls. And Paulo Coelho, who wrote The Alchemist and other just wonderful books, such a marvelous man. I sure wish I could meet him. When a person really desires something, he says, all the universe conspires to help that person realize his dream. All of the universe conspires to help that person realize his dream. So this is our weekly reset. So we go forward from today with a new idea, with a new thought that we are change and that we should dare to change, dare to leave that little broken down house down on the road and move up to the big house on the farm. Become who you came here to be. It's more marvelous, more magical, more miraculous than you've ever imagined. Dare to be you. And I'll dare to be me, and together we'll make a difference in the world starting right now. Thank you for being with me today. Thank you. If you can, and if you can afford it, I would so very much appreciate it if you'll go to my website, bobtrask.com, and leave a donation. It'll help us keep this weekly reset going. It'll help me do the other works in the world that I'm about, that's all about bringing people into the light. I want you on my team. Thank you. bobtrask.com. Bless you. Go with my love. Bye-bye.